Cundall opened its first Australian office in 2003 with a small Sydney-based team that were on mission to help save the world with applied physics. This is their story. It's about buildings, it's about negawatts, it's about modelling. No, not that kind of modelling.
I always describe that as the good old days when we were starting a lot of things that were all new and different, trying to work in different ways. It was a really exciting time. We had a really great way of looking at projects in a holistic manner, thinking about the holistic approach to site orientation, development opportunities, and thinking beyond any kind of specific discipline, thinking really holistically about what the project could do. And that was just an amazing way to work on lots of really exciting projects. Yeah, this was before the codes came in. It was the early days of ABGR before it became Neighbours. So we were starting to look at energy performance in design stage and committing to performance ratings, which was quite interesting. And then the early days of Green Star. So Green Star had just been started to roll out, and we were starting to do some of those first Green Star projects, targeting sort of 4-5 star ratings. 6-star was considered almost impossible back then in the early versions of it. And yeah, really sort of pioneering the way there.
I think the industry was very different back then, and it was a lot more of a sort of Wild West environment in the sustainability profession in general. I think the types of projects that we worked on were very different. They were much less about rating systems and assurance, and a bit more about designing from first principles. The demand for sustainability was a lot lower and less sophisticated, I would say. And since that time, things have grown just exponentially. I think that's why Cundall had such a great reputation right from the beginning in terms of sustainability, because we approached it from a building physics perspective and a science and engineering perspective, which was, I would say, more technical than many practicing at the time. And, you know, we built up a strong client base because of that experience and technical background.
We're also starting to introduce things like more mixed mode, natural ventilation, these sorts of things into the projects as well. And thinking about broader things like comfort, as well as energy, indoor environment quality, daylight, doing a lot on water, and renewable energy as well.
Really, it was probably just a natural progression from the sustainability offering that the business had in Australia and extension to making the business more global and offering more services across the world. I think probably somewhat unique for Australia is we started off with sustainability and moved into services, but what that's done is generally brought people with a sustainability mindset into the engineering side of things, and I think that generates a really good out-of-the-box style thinking, which provides clients with outcomes and responses that really make projects better. Cundall's modelling experience and Cundall's skills in that area definitely help provide a direction and a risk management for the client, and project outcomes, which is super important when you're spending a significant amount of money.
So when I started in 2004, there wasn't a lot of rating schemes around. We were doing everything from scratch, and we were doing design for facade design, for energy, comfort, and everything. So that was a good way to do a design. 5-year project. It was a retail town centre. It was a whole shebang, a whole town, which was amazing. We hadn't done anything so big before. We did a lot of outdoor thermal comfort studies, and CFD and shading and overshadowing studies, and looking at sunlight on shop fronts to see if the ice cream would melt. And the thermal comfort stuff was all done in CFD, And then we had, I think Simon came up with Outset, which was the external standard effective temperature, and we used that on quite a few projects after that.
Well, Lend-Lease is effectively their head office. The gauge, which was a passive chill beam outcome. So that one was even that step up above the active beam project in Sydney we just talked about. But I think modelling that up front, putting the design strategies in place and then seeing that come to fruition was an amazing outcome for not only our office at the time, but I think in terms of passive chill beam outcomes for the industry, it was again another trailblazer for the industry.
It was a major sort of hit, I guess, for the whole industry, because lots of projects stopped and cost became a real concern. A lot of anything that was deemed sort of an extra item, and Green Star and sustainability was one of those. But we kind of took it back to basics and reminded ourselves that it didn't necessarily needed to cost a lot more. And we did a lot of work on projects to incorporate sustainability in sort of a way that was cost neutral or a very minimal cost addition, and just changing the way we were doing things. So it did focus a lot on that.
So all of the design for that was pre-GFC, so we started that in 2006. The project was called Bent Street, and we did all the upfront design, the DA under Bent Street, and then they decided to rename it 1 Bligh, and I think it became Space 1 Bligh Street. Yeah, it was one of our big commercial projects. It was the first building to get 6-star Green Star, or target 6-star Green Star, and we were going for a high neighbours rating. I don't think they had 6-star at that stage, but we were going for 5-star plus 40%.
And yeah, I came here and I joined as a senior consultant. And since then I've gone on to lead the office and grow it from what was 2 people, and now we have a good solid team of 15 sustainability consultants, leading Perth, leading the industry in Perth, and working on some amazing projects here.
Obviously, if we've got sick and injured people, we want to have a space where they can recover, they can safely be operated on, and really, I suppose, have a safe space when they're in their most vulnerable.
So there's always leaders that want to go a bit beyond what everyone else is doing, and it's usually fun working with them because they are pushing the boundaries and trying to get the best outcome that they can. The next level is, those that are following on from that and trying to keep up. I think 6-star is still a high ambition.
So the project had committed to Living Building Challenge, full living certification, and 6-star Green Star buildings under the Legacy Education tool.
I remember working on Alkimos Beach again when I first arrived back in 2012 with our small team here of Cundall, working closely with Lend-Lease, trying to get to grips again with this new fangled rating tool and applying it to a new green precinct. We had a blank canvas to almost create anything we wanted with regards to the outcomes and sustainability. And so with Lend-Lease's help and the push from Cundall, we ended up creating something quite unique. We achieved the first 6-star Green Star communities rating across Australia.
So I think communication's been the key piece there in terms of making sure we talk to our people, making sure we visit our people as well. And something that I think we've done quite well is to get people together. So whether that be Christmas parties, whether that be embedding people in offices for short periods of time, I think that collegiate mentality really provides outcomes. I think the advent of Teams has obviously made that a lot easier, but in the old days, effectively, it was a lot harder to get that communication level up and work as part of a team to deliver outcomes.
I think it was, thanks to the vision that the City of Fremantle have and still have with regards to their approach to sustainability and ensuring that they're seen as a go-to council and area of the Perth Metro region with regards to implementing sustainability initiatives, and actually having a culture towards doing something about the climate emergency. One Planet Living fits the bill for them as a council. It's flexible. They could set their own tone with regards to their actions, and they're now trying to implement that for all of their developments. And with Cundall being a One Planet company, we already knew the framework very well, and alongside the City of Fremantle, we were able to implement the One Planet Living framework for the DHA live apartments development, and it's still seen as fairly unique.
And during all of that time until now, I don't think I've ever seen more rapid change than I have in the last couple of years. So in the last 2 to 3 years, I think the scale of change has just increased exponentially. The level of sophistication in the industry has accelerated as well. Our clients are a lot more savvy and aware of sustainability principles, and also the assurance and reporting that goes along with that. They are more ambitious in terms of what they want to achieve.
Sustainability seemed to be a new term, a newfangled buzzword that people didn't fully understand and fully didn't get to grips with. That industry has changed, the culture has changed around sustainability and the urgency that we need to apply to the climate emergency. Now, whether it's for a moral standing or whether they, as it seems to be coming from a financial standing, there seems to be a big shift in WA. It's taken 10 years to get even somewhere close to where we are today.
Look, I think that's the next bastion in terms of net zero, and I think moving away from gas and starting to understand the benefits of electricity in terms of environmental considerations is super important. And I think the industry is moving fairly quickly, but there's definitely lots of tricks and intricacies to designing a new building, but also looking at designing or retrofitting an existing building in terms of electrifying it, and can you be smart in terms of the infrastructure you've got by putting in little intricacies and design strategies that provide less capital expenditure and better outcomes.
Existing buildings have always been cool. Cundall have loved existing buildings ever since its inception. We do have a reputation to be working on new buildings and new large developments. However, we've seen a shift in the market again. It may be a financial one, but to reposition their assets. How do we get, say, a 1970s office build in the CBD to be net zero in, say, 2025 or 2030? They're looking to the expertise, the engineering, technical expertise from Cundall to help them with that problem, both at a strategic level, building their sustainability roadmaps, building their net zero transition plans, but actually having the expertise and the technical capability to actually implement and help them.
Probably in things like the commercial office market, it became very competitive, and people Australians in particular always wanting to do better than someone else. So it was a competitive push that drove things. And then what really drove it was when investment and investors started to demand it, and became a requirement of getting capital or money higher up the chain. And that investment push, which probably didn't really happen until 2018, 2020, as late as that things really started to drive away from the sort of cost benefit versus the value benefit side of equations.
The evolution of ESG in Perth and across Cundall was both a push and a demand. We pushed it from within, both from the experience and capability of people we have, such as Madeline within the team, who have an aspiration to change things at a much more strategic level. But we also see a big shift, and we had a demand from some of our clients we were working on their buildings with. Then they trusted us to look after their portfolio. Then it became a trust exercise of them asking, well, can you look at us as an organisation? How do we change our policies? How do we set the roadmap for us? How do we walk the talk that our buildings are doing? What can we do as people and as companies to actually set the tone? How do we improve ourselves?
The sophistication of our clients has grown as well. So I think I've also been lucky to work with so many clients that are actually dedicated to delivering positive, sustainable outcomes rather than just ticking a box for council or scraping through minimum national construction code compliance. So especially now, the types of requests that clients are coming to us with are just going so much further than that. And, that's it's really heartwarming to hear when we have an opportunity to work with clients that actually want to do something good.
I like to think that our culture is all inclusive and does strive for cultural and social sustainability as well as environmental sustainability. We're definitely branching that way with the ESG and different aspects that we're looking at. Communities, Green Star communities, and even Green Star is branching out into different areas other than just ecological sustainability. I think it's very important.
But we've now turned into a much bigger business with multiple disciplines and many more people, so we've had to put a lot of more systems in place. But one thing that has stayed true is our, commitment to trying to always do things better, to be trying to do things in a different way, create a culture where people ask questions, challenge why we're doing this, and really support some of that design innovation. My hopes are that our race to net zero actually happens quicker than we all need it to happen. So that we really speed things up and that we get really accelerated traction over the next few years. I feel like it's a downhill race, not an uphill race. So I feel like the momentum really can accelerate. So I'd love to see that happen.
Look, I think you've got to believe in what you're doing. So when you get up out of bed in the morning to come in on a lovely Monday morning, you want to have a direction, you want to have a target, and you want to help. And it is a big mission. And Cundall's vision around helping the environment and helping the world be a better place is super important. So that sort of get up and go in the morning, certainly gets me out of bed, knowing that I'm going to help make a difference. And I think that's what it's about, is making a difference, albeit every day is a little incremental step, but it's to the overall greater good. For Cundall, I think we continue to do what we do, continue to drive towards our net zero 2030 challenge. And I think if we can make good on that pledge and that promise, I think we'll have done a lot to help the industry move forward. We'll also have done a lot to help the environment and hopefully make this planet continue doing what it's doing for thousands and millions of years.